Abraham, I've been doing the work, the meditations, the appreciating, and us to experience something that I've experienced too, and I was pretty excited when you told the story about that man at the Starbucks. Only it happened to me with a skunk. We did not exchange emails. I take these long walks, and ever since I started doing the work, I've been seeing things, and nice things, appreciating the wildlife and whatnot. First started, I see the skunks, a little bit far away. I'm like, wow, skunks, I don't see skunks that often. And then a few days pass, and I see a couple of skunks, and, I like to keep my distance. And
because you have practiced thoughts about the skunks.
Yeah, that's right. So,
and it's hard to see a skunk in its pureness. Isn't it? When you behold a skunk, do you really bless it from your high-flying place? Or do you have preconceived notions about a skunk that limit your ability to love it in the way you are capable of?
I love skunks, Abraham.
Yeah, well,
from afar. I'm just not sure what they're going to do if I'm close to them.
Depends on your vibration.
Okay, well then.
It depends on what they feel from you. If you are in alignment with Source, then there's no reason for them to protect themselves from you.
Okay.
But most people, this is a really good conversation, isn't it? Because if there's anything that humans have preconceived notions about, it's a skunk. You don't say, kitty, 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 kitty.
Well, look, when I'm taking these walks, I see real nice things. I see bunnies. I find money. What else? The other day I was walking and I saw a leaf just in the sky. I mean, just by the tree, just dangling. It looked like it was...
So
nice.
A leaf, no preconceived notions. You've never been smothered by an avalanche of leaves. Money, not a negative thing.
No, it's nice.
Bunnies, are you kidding? A sweet little bunny. Of course you're going to feel good about a bunny.
Yeah.
We just like that for the drama. But a skunk,
all right.
What are you going to do? You going to run from all of the skunks in the world?
Well, I'm not trying to run from them. They just keep bumping into me. I mean, they're just like really close. And it's been like 3 times as this happened already. I'm walking, minding my own business. I happen to be listening to you, by the way, as I'm walking, enjoying my time outside.
And are you having any negative experience with the skunk?
No, not negative, but, I do get startled. And I'm just... The other day, I was talking to my friends about, hey, I keep running into skunks. What's going on? I'm just glad, I like wildlife. I consider myself their friend.
But the point that we're wanting to help you to feel is, doesn't everyone have a defensive side? But the question is, does everyone need a defensive side? So how does the skunk demonstrate its defense against predators?
Well, yeah.
And so if the skunk isn't doing that to you, it must not feel you as a predator. It must not feel you as a threat to it. In other words, the skunk is doing a much better job of understanding its vibrational guidance system than you are.
Okay.
Humans just spray everybody arbitrarily. You might be a problem. Shh. You might be a problem. It's what our friend was asking earlier. How do you discern? If you're in that high-flying place, and so this is the answer to our previous friend's question. If you think you're in the high-flying place and the skunk squirts you, you weren't.
Well, it almost did, and I'm glad it didn't because I ran away. It was just the weirdest thing. And I thought I was at a high-flying place. And I believe I was. And it didn't belong there. I was right next to a car wash. And all of a sudden I hear, and then the tail went up. I'm like, whoa, I ran. And And I was just wondering what that was all about. And I wondered for a moment if you guys were behind it. For some reason, I don't know why that popped in my head. But I laughed. It was funny.
Well, we are enjoying this conversation, certainly. And it might be worthwhile for all of you to get a pet skunk and walk around with it and use it instead of your own guidance system. Because it could be a pretty accurate guidance system. Or there are other ways. And it is our promise to you that if you ran around with that skunk long enough, you'd figure out where you stood with the skunk. We are not kidding as much as you might want to believe that we are. But your own guidance system gives you so much more information, doesn't it?
So what are you saying? Are you saying that I wasn't in my high-flying disc? Or perhaps
We're saying that when you are in alignment, since the beasts of your planet are more frequently in alignment with who they are responding from that place of alignment. And unless something happens that really challenges them, they stay in that place of alignment. And we're just going to make a really bold statement here. The thing that challenges the beasts of your planet, that takes them from their high-flying disc, is rendezvousing with one of you who is not on your high-flying disc, who has enough momentum going that you take them from it. In other words, does that make sense to you? It's a situation where you startle them, or where you corner them, or where you threaten them. But the thing that we really want this conversation to say to you is that they're reflecting back to you your threatening of yourself. You see, because the only thing that really threatens you ever, the only thing that ever threatens you is contradictory vibration. It's the only thing that is of any disadvantage to you.
So is it because I'm afraid that the skunk might do something to me?
We think that's pretty obvious.
Oh, okay.
You have preconceived notions about a skunk.
Okay.
The rabbit could nibble you. You're just not worried about that.
No, I'm not.
But the skunk can do some serious, uncomfortable damage.
Well, at that very moment, I learned something, because I thought to myself, well, first I was, that momentum built up. I would see them, and then I'll occasionally bump into them. When I say bump into them, I mean we're talking within like a foot. One time we both went our different directions, and I laughed. But I talked about it with my friends, and I told them I'm glad that the skunk didn't do it to me. And just a few days ago, I bumped into it again, and it almost did. I'm glad I ran fast.
The thing that is important relative to everything is being aware of where you are. The more conscious you are about how you're feeling as you have rendezvous, then the more you'll be able to put two and two together. The more you'll be able to acknowledge. Esther was sitting working on the new book with us in her living room in Del Mar, and she has wooden doors with glass in them that she can see out, but the door at the base has a board that goes across it about 6 inches. And as she was sitting there, she felt the impulse to just get up and just look at the beautiful view for a moment, a little closer to the window. And as she walked over, she realized there was a little bird. He looked like Tweety Bird, only he was not yellow, he was gray. But that little round face and those big long lashes on his eyes, about the size of an egg, sitting there so close to the door she had been unable to see him while she was sitting. And now she is standing and looking at him. She couldn't believe that he was there. And she said, "What are you doing here?" And he just looked up at her and batted his eyes at her. So she slowly opened the door. Now, she's never seen a bird not fly away with that much motion. But the bird did not fly away. And she said, "Do you want something from me? Do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink? Are you all right?" So now she kneeled down and sat on the floor, and they're only a foot away from each other. And she looked at him, and he looked at her, and she looked at him, and he looked at her, and she told him he was beautiful, and he told her she was beautiful. And they just exchanged this for about 10 minutes, and then he flew away. Just flew away. Now, we doubt that Esther would have had that kind of a relationship if it had been a skunk. We think that her preconceived notions about a skunk are... Now, this was still an unusual experience to have with a bird. But if it had been a skunk, we don't think that she would have sat right down. We think she would have clapped her hands. We think she would have tried to shoo him away. We don't think that she would have opened the door and tried to commune with him up close. And we want to ask you all why. And it's because of your preconceived notions about. Now, most people would say, well, aren't we here to learn something? Isn't it good to learn that a skunk could do that? Don't you want to teach your children to talk to the birds but not to the skunks? And we want you to leave all of that aside and just focus on being on the high-flying disc, and then joyfully and graciously and comfortably rendezvous with whatever comes, instead of making preconceived notions that prevent you from rendezvousing with very meaningful things. This is really a good discussion that we're having here. There are so many things that you don't allow yourself to experience because you have flawed premises that keep you from experiencing them. But if your singular intention for just a little while is to get on that high-flying disc, and then the world is going to demonstrate itself to you in a different way. You're going to discover that your enemies also can be your friends, that those who think differently from you are not a threat to you, that the world is large enough to accommodate you in all of your differences, and that your life does not need to be negatively affected because someone else has a different plan for their life. You see, it's really fun to get on your high-flying disc and discover the beauty and depth and breadth of this world, because otherwise you're not just running from skunks. You're running from your in-laws. You're running from people of other religions. You're running from people with other interests and beliefs. You're holding up. You're withdrawing from life unnecessarily, you see. And when you let law of attraction do the sorting, then you can go everywhere. When law of attraction does the sorting, you're not in danger ever, you see. What makes people worry about it is that they get pretty far down a path that doesn't feel good, and then they don't know what to do. And we say, don't go down that path. Don't start down that path. And for the next 30 days, you have an opportunity to show yourself that. And this amazing world is going to show itself to you in more amazing ways than you've ever seen it before. So many, Esther calls them coinkydinks, because she likes the playful nature of this universe. She says to herself every single day, I live in a situation comedy. And law of attraction is bringing the players who will play with me. And there is no danger, but there is constant surprise, because this is Esther speaking, forming new relationships with everyone now that I'm consistently on my high-flying disc. New relationships with everyone. Nobody's the same. Nobody's the same. If they're really different, they move from you. And if they're like you, they move with you. And if they want what you are, they gravitate to you. And if they don't understand what you are but want it, they gravitate to you. If they fear you, they're on such a different vibrational disc that you won't rendezvous with them at all. So, law of attraction is really a good universal manager. And those non-physical partners that you have, like us, like Jerry, like those people that you have loved who have made their transition, they're with you all day, pointing you in the direction of the path that feels good, never guiding you away from the path that feels bad, always calling you in the direction, all that non-physical momentum calling you toward who you really are. Best discussion ever. Yeah.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you so much. Yeah.